Imagine, if you will, a magnificent vessel setting forth on a journey that promised opulence and grandeur from the picturesque Queenstown, Ireland, to the glittering shores of New York. The Titanic, a marvel of human engineering, stood as an unshakable symbol of invincibility, or so they said. Yet, on that fateful night, destiny took a different course. But what if this tragedy wasn't merely an accident? What if hidden beneath the waves lies a tale of hidden motives, concealed agendas, and unanswered questions? Today, we embark on a voyage of inquiry and curiosity as we dive headfirst into the enigmatic web of conspiracy theories that continue to swirl around the Titanic's sinking. Can it be that the Titanic's fate was not a mere twist of chance, but a carefully orchestrated event with motives that remain obscured to this day? Join us as we navigate these treacherous waters and uncover the mysteries that refuse to let this maritime disaster rest in peace. Things are about to get strange. Cue the music.
Hello, all you ghouls and goblins. Welcome to the Conspiracy Weird podcast, where we talk about conspiracy theories and just all things weird. I am your host, Molly, and with me is my awesome husband, Josh.
Yo.
How are you today, Josh?
Good. It's been a long day. I've been up since 5 a.m. and you probably 3 a.m.
Midnight, actually. I've been up since midnight.
Yeah, that's quite a day. And it's 9 o'clock in the evening. Do you know where your children are?
At Nana and Papa's house.
Yeah, right.
At least I hope.
They are.
We actually don't have a snack time this week because...
Yeah, what are you talking about? Of course we do.
We went on a date to Outback. That was our date night.
Our snack tonight is all the candy that our kids got from a trunk or treat. We've got
on Friday the 13th.
Mystery bags that are...
Pretzels. Those are pretzels.
Oh, is that what they are?
Yeah, we kind of,
lollipops.
we call them mom and dad tax. We take what we want out of their candy.
And they get what's left.
Yeah.
Ooh, Smarties.
Listen, I got pregnant twice with them, and I had to push them out. That was hard work.
Yeah, we get some privileges.
Yeah.
There's perks.
Perks.
Ooh, some Skittles.
Okay, put that down for now. Making too much noise. So, today, we're going to be talking about a lovely couple called Jack and Rose.
We're not talking about Jack and Rose.
Okay. We're talking about the Titanic today.
Yeah! The Titanic.
And after this, we're going to make Josh watch 3 hours of the movie Titanic.
Yeah, maybe in my sleep.
Psych! We're both going to fall asleep.
We're going to sleep after this. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. So let's get into this. Are you ready, Josh?
Let's go. Cue the music.
Why are we like this?
Alright. You ready to be quiet again?
Am I ever quiet?
You just were. That was good.
I tried.
Let's start with the history of the RMS Titanic.
Let's do it.
It got its name from the Titans of Greek mythology. It was the largest ship at the time and was the second of 3 Olympic-class ocean lines operated by the White Star Line. It was built in Belfast, which is Northern Ireland's capital, by the Harland and Wolff shipyard. Thomas Andrews was the chief naval architect of the shipyard. He died in the sinking. Captain Edward Smith was in command of the ship, and he also went down with the ship.
Womp womp.
The Titanic carried some of the wealthiest people in the world, as well as immigrants from Europe who wanted to make a new life in America and Canada.
Now, we're going to start talking about some of the specs of the Titanic. It was 882 feet and 9 inches long with a maximum width of 92 feet 6 inches. The total height from the base of the keel to the top of the bridge was about 104 feet. Titanic did have 10 decks, excluding the top of the officers' quarters, and 8 of them were for passenger use. The Titanic was equipped with 3 main engines, each driving a propeller. The passenger facilities on the Titanic aimed to meet the highest standards of luxury. Now that's what I'm talking about. The Titanic could accommodate 833 first-class passengers, 614 second-class passengers, 1,006 third-class passengers, making the total passenger capacity of 2,453. In addition to that capacity, there was an additional capacity for the crew, and that was about 900. The interior design was a style of a manor house or English countryside house. First-class passengers had access to a 7-foot deep saltwater pool.
Nice.
A gym, a squash court, a massage room,
Ooh.
which I think we would like,
Mm-hmm.
a hot room,
Those are good.
as well as other accommodations.
I like accommodations.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say this wrong, so I'm probably going to need your help.
Palace of Versailles.
Yeah. There was a lounge in the style of
The Palace of Versailles.
a men's smoking room and a reading and writing room. I wish I had a reading and writing room.
Seriously.
In contrast, third class was not as nice. I think we'd probably be in third class.
We'd be the ones dancing on the lower deck with Jack and Rose.
Listen.
That looked like fun.
Listen, in the movie Gaelic Storm was that band that played, and that is my favorite band, or one of them. So, shout out Gaelic Storm. We've seen you twice. We love you. Shout out Gaelic Storm.
My wife was the weird one that ran up to you to take a picture.
At the Renaissance Fair in Florida. So,
Yeah.
Hello! They consisted of little more than open dormitories with hundreds of people that were confined without adequate food or toilet facilities. Ugh. They did have an open deck space, a women's reading room, and a smoking room for men. So that's pretty cool that they had that, I guess.
Well, everybody was smoking back in those days, I guess.
Mm.
I don't know. Well, at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, lookout Frederick Fleet spotted an iceberg immediately ahead of the Titanic and alerted the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch ordered the ship to be steered around the icebergs and the engines to be reversed. Unfortunately, it was too late. The starboard side of the Titanic struck the iceberg. This created a series of holes below the waterline. The hull was actually not punctured, but dented in a way that its seams buckled and separated. This allowed water to rush in. 5 of the watertight compartments were breached. It was soon clear that the Titanic would sink. She would not remain afloat if more than 4 compartments were flooded. She began to sink bow first. Water spilled from compartment to compartment as the angle in the water became steeper.
That sucks.
Yeah, and, just reference the movie for how scary that was. Everybody's panicking and everybody's getting wet. Things are being closed and locked off, and it was freezing cold outside and in the water.
If you don't cry at any part of the Titanic, then you're lame.
Yeah, especially with the band.
The babies as well. When the mom's reading to her 2 or 3 kids.
The old couple.
The old couple in the bed.
The band playing till the end.
The band playing till the end. I love that band. Shout out to that band.
Whoever you are.
The Descendants, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Well, they all died, babe. They're not alive.
Clearly. They went down with the Titanic. I don't think they're still here. Shout out! In the afterlife, if you're listening, ghosts. If you're listening to this podcast.
We're a little tired right now. We're a little silly.
Those in charge were ill-prepared for such an emergency. Since ships were seen as largely unsinkable and lifeboats were intended to transfer passengers to nearby rescue vessels, Titanic only had enough room for about half of those on board.
Half.
And that's if the lifeboats were full. Half.
If they were full.
So we already start with half available. And
if they were filled to capacity.
If they were filled to capacity, which we all know didn't happen. Where was I?
If the ship carried...
There we go. So tired. If the ship carried her full capacity of about 3,339 passengers and crew, only about a third of the passengers could have been accommodated.
A third.
The crew was not trained properly in carrying out an evacuation. The officers didn't know how many people they could safely fit on the lifeboats, so they were sending them off half full.
Whack as hell.
Third-class passengers were largely left to fend for themselves. Many of them were trapped below decks as the ship filled with water. The children and women first rule was generally followed when loading the lifeboats, and most of the men and crew members were left on board. Women and children survived at rates of about 75% and 50%, while only about 20% of the men survived.
Yeah, that's rough. Between 2:10 and 2:15 a.m., about 2.5 hours after the Titanic hit the iceberg, her rate of sinking suddenly increased as the boat deck dipped underwater.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing it, sinking, and then all of a sudden it starts sinking faster. Yeah, you'd be, already freaking out.
Listen, I already have anxiety on a, normal, everyday basis.
Everybody be losing it over this. Yeah. But then again, if you're in the water, whatever. In the water, it still soiled your pants, but...
The sea poured in through open hatches and grates. The ship broke into two pieces between the second and third funnels as her unsupported stern rose out of the water. So, yeah. This was due to the immense forces on the keel. With the bow underwater and air trapped in the stern remained afloat for a few minutes longer. It raised to almost a complete vertical and still had hundreds of people clinging to it. It finally filled with water and sank at 2:20 a.m. All remaining crew and passengers were immersed into the water at a temperature of only 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Only 5 who were in the water were helped into lifeboats, even though the lifeboats had room for almost 500 more people. This whole Titanic, gives me, so much sadness in my heart. Distress signals were sent out by lamp and, those, rockets, the flare guns. None of the ships that responded to Titanic were near enough to reach the Titanic before it sank. A radio operator on board SS Burma estimated that it would be around 6 a.m. before they got to the sinking ship. The SS California saw Titanic's flares but did not go and help. RMS Carpathia arrived on the scene at around 4 a.m. and assisted. The lifeboats that had been lowered were only filled to about 60% when the ship sank. 706 people survived, while 1,517 people passed away.
They didn't just pass away; they died.
Did that? They were frozen.
It's not like they died of natural causes. They died.
They did.
All right, so let's get into some
of the theories.
It's what you're here for.
Some of the theories.
The conspiracies.
For all you youngins that weren't alive when the Titanic overtook movie theaters. So
I was about to say, we weren't alive when the Titanic sank.
But we were around when it came out in theaters. I remember going to see it in the theater with my Grammy. I was 6. You might hear our cat in the background, sorry.
They were yelling. I never saw it in theater, but I remember having the 3-disc VHS cassette.
It was a 2.
Oh, was it 2?
It was
two.
2.
Sorry, 2. It was just an enormous. It looked enormous because it was 2 cassettes together.
And quick fun fact, it was still actually out in movie theaters when it came out on VHS.
Smart.
Quick fun fact.
Did you know there's a TikToker that is collecting all of the VHS and like collectibles from the movie?
Really?
Like people just send in their copies of the VHS, their VHSs to this person. I know. Apologize. I don't remember their TikTok name.
I know Pete Davidson is trying to collect all VHSs that are unwrapped.
Oh yeah, that are still wrapped up.
Yeah, that are still wrapped
sealed.
Up.
But that's completely.
Shout
separate.
out Pete Davidson. Hi.
We'd love to have you on the podcast.
How you doing?
All right, so back to conspiracies to start. Here's one conspiracy. It was actually the Olympic instead of the Titanic. This is and the Olympic is another one of the sister ships.
Yes. Remember, there was 3 of them.
Right.
You okay with it?
Yep, just burping in my mouth.
Ew.
Disgusting.
Okay.
That's that Caesar salad from the Outback.
Can't see in the throat.
Just the crouton. Just trying to come back. Okay, so this is one of the most elaborate and controversial theories out there. It was advanced by Robin Gardner in his book Titanic, the ship that never sank. Gardner draws on several coincidences and events leading up to the sinking of the Titanic. It includes that the ship that sank was actually Titanic's sister ship, Olympic, disguised as the Titanic. This was done as an insurance scam by its owners, the International Mercantile Marine Group.
Get that money.
That, as if they weren't wealthy enough as it was, right? That group was controlled by J.P. Morgan.
Surprise, surprise.
I think I bank with him.
We do.
Several researchers and authors had a problem with this theory. British historian states that since sister ships had significant interior architectural and design differences, switching them secretly in a week would economically
not make sense.
It would just not be economically worthwhile, since the ship's owners could have simply damaged the ship while it was docked. For instance, by setting fire. And collected the insurance money from that accident, which would have been far less severe and infinitely less stupid than sailing her out in the middle of the Atlantic with thousands of people and their luggage on board and ramming her into an iceberg. So I would have to agree. I believe, as I was looking into this as well, I was reading that all throughout the ship, the numbering of the ship is like everywhere, right? Like in all the machinery and everything. Mm-hmm. And they're not gonna sail the wrong one out there, and the stuff that the theories don't line up.
Where the theories don't line up and the points don't matter.
We're definitely not copywriting infringing at all.
Nope.
There's a theory that the Titanic was sunk on purpose to eliminate the opposition to the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank. Mm-hmm. Some of the most wealthy men in the world were on the Titanic on her maiden voyage.
Very suspicious.
Some of them include John Jacob Astor, Jacob Heimer Schmidt. No, just kidding. John Jacob.
We're very serious here.
John Jacob Astor IV, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim. I will never not think that name is funny.
Guggenheim?
It's a funny name. Guggenheim.
The Guggenheims find that highly disrespectful.
I don't know. It just makes me laugh. It's a funny word.
Okay.
Name. Altogether, everything. They were allegedly opposed to the creation of the U.S. Central Bank. There is no evidence of this. Astor and Guggenheim never even spoke publicly about the subject, while Strauss spoke in favor of the subject. All 3 men died during the sinking.
That sucks.
The main reason behind this thought is that Morgan planned on traveling on the Titanic. He attended the Titanic's launching in 1911, and he booked a personal suite aboard the ship that had its own private promenade deck.
Nice.
And a bath equipped with a specially designed cigar holder. Nothing says a bougie bubble bath
like a
cigar holder built into your tub.
What about the ashes, though? Because that's just
it's on the side of the tub.
I know, but it still might fall in.
It's so bougie, it's probably... Well, no, you tap the cigar in the holder, and then you smoke, and then you put it back in the holder, so there's no ashes.
But some still might fall in.
Well, it's like, how do you eat over something without spilling? It's just, you figure it out. Okay. And if a little bit gets on you, then whatever. He's in a bath, okay? Instead, he canceled the trip on the maiden voyage of Titanic. He chose to stay at the French resort Les Brains. I don't know. Isles Bonds? Isles Bains? We're
not really...
I have no idea how to speak French.
We're not well traveled.
AIXLESBAINS.
Yeah.
Isles Bonds. That's what I'm going to call it. Anyway, his alleged last-minute cancellation has fueled speculation among conspiracy theorists that he knew the ship was going to sink. This theory has been refuted by Titanic experts George Behe, Don Lynch, and Ray Lepine. They all provide their own alternative reasons as to why Morgan canceled at the last minute.
And I think they all wrote books and articles and stuff,
course,
so go look them up. Go look them up.
And I apologize for butchering your names.
But hi to all of you.
If you're listening.
We would like to talk to you if you would like.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about the closed watertight doors. This theory suggests that if these doors would have remained open, the Titanic would have settled on an even keel, therefore remained afloat long enough for rescue ships to arrive. This theory has been rebutted for two reasons. The first one, the first 4 compartments were naturally watertight, thus it was impossible to lower the concentration of water in the bow significantly. Secondly, historians and studies have shown by calculations that any significant amount of water after boiler number 4 would have resulted in the capsizing of the Titanic, which would have taken place 30 minutes earlier than the Titanic would have actually sunk. Even more so, the lighting would have gone out about 70 minutes after the collision with the iceberg due to the flooding of the boiler rooms. It is also analyzed in the hypothetical case that there weren't any bulkheads at all in the ship. The vessel would have capsized about 70 minutes before the actual time of the sinking, and the lighting would have been lost about 40 minutes after the collision. So that wouldn't make sense, is basically what all that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, all those guys that were
working it.
No, I was going to say, that are rebuting how things are going, or are going to give their detailed explanations as to why things are the way they are. And please ignore this creaky chair. We are broke. As is this chair.
Send us snack money.
Yeah, please feel free to send us your contributions for better chairs so you don't hear annoying creaks in our conversation. So, we got a few more conspiracies here. So, fire in the coal bunker. A fire began in one of Titanic's coal bunkers about 10 days prior to the ship's departure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It could... Wait. You mean like the natural... The stuff that's supposed to burn. The coal that they were burning on purpose, not an extra fire.
No, like a fire that wasn't supposed to be there.
Oh my god. What?
Yep, just keep going.
Okay, so... A fire began... Yeah, I'm not an expert, clearly. A fire began in one of the Titanic's coal bunkers about 10 days prior to the ship's departure?
Yes!
How does... Nobody's like, oh, we should not, let's not depart until we put this fire out. No, it's cool. Just
Listen.
Send everybody.
People need to come to America, damn it. Land of the free, home of the brave. They need to get here.
It continued to burn for several days into the voyage. Okay, at least it went out. Fires occurred regularly on steamboats due to spontaneous combustion of the coal.
Yep.
Okay. The fires had to be extinguished with fire hoses by moving the coal on top to another bunker and by removing the burning coal and feeding it into the furnace. This led some authors to theorize that the fire made the problem worse when Titanic collided with the iceberg, because the fire is believed to reduce the structural integrity of the hull and a critical bulkhead. Sinan Maloney, a writer and editor, had suggested that attempts to extinguish the fire may have been the reason why Titanic was steaming full speed prior to the collision, even though there were ice warnings. Most experts do disagree with that. Samuel Help, a systems engineer and author, concluded that the bunker fire would not have weakened the watertight bulkhead significantly or sufficiently to cause it to collapse.
Okay. So,
I like this next one.
Yes, the next two theories are my favorite theories of this.
I want to believe.
A mummy's curse doomed the Titanic.
Bum, bum, bum.
One of the passengers who went down with the Titanic was William Stead. He was a British editor who subscribed to early 20th century spiritualism. He had spent the past several years claiming that a cursed mummy was causing mysterious destruction and mayhem all around London. While he was on board, Stead happily repeated his tale of the mummy's curse to other passengers. After the ship sank, a survivor repeated Stead. I think I'm saying his name right.
Stead, I think.
Stead.
Stead would be two E's. This is Stead.
Stead's tale to the New York World, and other media picked up on it. The very next month, the Washington Post ran this headline: Ghost of the Titanic, Vengeance of Hoodoo Mummy Followed Man Who Wrote Its History. In other versions of the story, the mummy was actually on board the Titanic because the British Museum had sold it to an American who was shipping it home. Snopes reports.
Snopes.
Oh my god.
There's only one O.
Snopes reports.
Either way, it's a funny name. That's another one. Add it to Guggenheim.
But the real truth is that the unlucky mummy is still at the British Museum, of course, because the British have always stolen, like,
Hey now, let's get into that later.
No mummy was ever loaded onto the ship.
No mummy was harmed in the making of this Titanic sinking.
No mummies were harmed in the filming of this podcast.
Of the Titanic. Or the sinking of the Titanic.
Okay, this one is also very interesting. The ship's number read "No Pope" backwards. One myth states...
Sorry. I saw the photos. It's so stupid.
One myth stated that Catholic employees of Harland and Wolff, right? Wolff?
Yeah.
The Belfast company that built the Titanic were distressed that the ship's number 390904 seemed to say "No Pope" when viewed in a mirror. Was this a sign of bad luck? The late Titanic historian, Walter Lord, thought no. He wrote that he received letters from people in Ireland, whoop whoop, I'm Irish, so whoop whoop, relaying this theory in the mid-1950s. Yet, as he pointed out in his book, there was no such number ever written on the Titanic. This still does not stop tourists from asking about this myth when visiting Titanic museums. We have one here in Orlando. We should probably go see that next time we're in Orlando.
Yeah.
We'll take pictures and post it on social media maybe whenever we go there.
If we go.
If we go there. Yeah.
We got other places to be for future podcasts anyway.
Yeah.
Fun facts!
Fun facts!
As if we didn't already give you some facts, but there you go. Here's some fun ones. And Molly,
we have a lot of them.
Molly gave me a list.
What was that noise?
Probably one of the many people all around us.
Oh my God.
The ghosts of Titanic.
Listen, I did not mean, no! Leave me alone!
Oh, God. It was believed that the Titanic sank in one piece. The discovery of the wreck years later revealed that she had broken in two. Why would somebody believe it sank in one piece other than just being stupid? Because, you kind of had survivors that told you exactly what happened. The last living survivor, Melvina Dean from England, was only 9 weeks old when the ship sank. She was the youngest passenger on board. She passed away on May 31st, 2009, at the age of 97. She lived a nice long life. That's good. Isidor Straus, we talked about him earlier. U.S. Congressman and co-owner of Macy's, died on the Titanic with his wife, Rosalie Isa Straus. Both were offered to go on a lifeboat, but Isidore refused because there were still women and children aboard. He didn't feel like it was right. He decided to stay on board and urged Rosalie to get on a lifeboat. She refused, saying, "We have lived together for many years. Where you go, I go." And if that's not a example of real true love, then I don't know what is, and my life is a lie. The Titanic shipwreck is now an underwater UNESCO heritage site. Milton Hersey, the man that invented Hershey chocolate, was supposed to be on the Titanic with his family. He even wrote a $300 check to reserve his stateroom. Business took importance, and they did not make it.
Good, because I like chocolate.
Well, he was not like he's making the chocolate and, in the kitchen making the chocolate. A rust-eating bacteria is slowly eating away at the Titanic. This microorganism, Holominus titanicae, can adhere to steel surfaces and forms the rusticles seen on the hull of the wreckage. You've seen the photos, and it looks like everything's kind of just like spongy, soggy. I think that's what we're talking about. Rusticles. Add that to the funny word
rusticles
list.
Oh my God.
Oh boy, we're almost there. Rusticles. It is estimated that about 100,000 people watched the launch of the Titanic. That is about 1/3 of the population of Belfast.
Yeah.
Is that then or now?
Probably.
At the writing of that fact.
Yeah.
The last lunch menu sold for tens of thousands of dollars on September 30th, 2015. Wait, hold on. That was written wrong.
No, it wasn't. You just said it wrong.
Okay, let me say that again. The last lunch menu... Okay, so the menu itself, the last of the lunch menus that were on the Titanic was sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Going once.
Period.
Going twice. Sold to the man in the big hat.
Period. On September 30th, 2015, a private collector bought that menu on an online auction for $88,000. That was $18,000 more than the initial maximum price.
The initial maximum. Why'd they put a maximum on there?
I don't know. I know, like...
If it's an auction, why would they have a maximum?
I don't know. I just work here.
Is it like eBay pay now?
I think,
pay for it and buy now?
I think, kind of like eBay auctions where they put, a max price on there. I don't know how
this person was just showing off.
Basically.
An extra $18,000?
Yep.
Give me that. I can use it to buy a house.
Mood. We're trying to buy a house, y'all.
14,000 gallons of water were consumed each day on the ship.
Yep.
It took over 7 decades to find the ship's ruins.
Yep.
13 couples were on their honeymoon.
I have another fun fact for you.
Oh, what's that?
All of the pools on the Titanic are still filled with water.
Wow. Oh. Wow.
My wife, ladies and gentlemen! My wife!
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, we got some questions, guys.
I feel like that should be a dad joke of some sort.
We got some questions. Are you ready, Josh?
I guess.
What do you think is the most logical reason behind the sinking?
Poor planning.
I also saw a fun fact. I didn't put it in there. I should have put it in there. That if they didn't turn the ship, if they hit the iceberg head on, they wouldn't have sunk at all.
Well, on that same fact, I read that because they slowed down and try to go reverse, that if they did hit it head on at full speed, they would have been fine.
Yeah.
But, no.
So I think that the most logical reason behind it is that it just hit an iceberg and sank.
Yep. And
as unfortunate as it is.
As unsinkable as it was, there were flaws. And one of them was, how about having the lookout have a pair of binoculars?
Yeah.
He saw it visually at the last second and then said, hey, everybody, there's an iceberg. And then they're like, oh, snap. Let's turn in reverse. And no, it's too late.
Put it in reverse now. Whoop. Okay.
Back it up.
What would you do if you were on the ship?
Die, apparently, because everybody was dead. No, not everybody. But the men died, and I would have been one of them.
I would be dead.
No, you would have got on a lifeboat.
No, I probably would have wanted to stay with you.
You're mushy. No, I would have pushed you on a lifeboat. I would have kicked you onto it and like, get her!
Get this!
No.
What makes you the most sad about what happened with the Titanic?
Who said I was sad?
Oh, wow.
Whoa, snap!
Wow!
I guess really just like those sad moments that we saw like in the movie.
Yeah, because like,
but for real, that like they really, stuff like that was really
happening. Because they took a lot of like firsthand witness statements and like put it in the movie. Like when the dad was talking to his daughters getting on the boat, that really happened.
The band
playing till the end.
The captain staying with the ship.
Yeah, the Macy's couple staying together. All that really happened on the Titanic, and that's just hurts my heart.
To this day, we have not found Leonardo DiCaprio. No, I'm just kidding.
There's actually a fun fan theory out there that that Jack actually washed upon the shore and became Gatsby, because you don't know Gatsby's past, and he just showed up one day. So that's like a fun like.
I thought you were gonna say that he just washed ashore one day and
Inception. What? Okay. Any last thoughts, Josh?
Do better, shipbuilders. Do better.
Well, I don't think a lot of people are going on. Well, I guess cruises.
I would imagine they've already taken a lot more precautions and have done better, but just do better, architects. Do better.
Do better.
and better prepare your staff in case of emergencies.
Get your freaking lifeboats on the dang ship.
And if you work on a ship where there are passengers, don't take it lightly.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
Learn stuff.
Pay attention. During the meetings. When they're
Watch out for icebergs.
Carry binoculars.
Pay attention. As the Titanic rests silently on the ocean floor, its still hull cradling the secrets of the fateful night, it remains a testament to the mysteries and conspiracies that lie shrouded in the depths. The whispers of the past, the unanswered questions, and the untold stories of the tragic voyage remain encapsulated in the deep, where the Titanic keeps its secrets as the world above continues to ponder the truths that have become an integral part of its haunting legacy. Stay weird, y'all.
We want to thank you for tuning in. You can find us on all your favorite social platforms by searching Conspiracy Weird, posting photos and details from each episode. Please consider keeping our tummies full by donating to the Snack Fund. Donations will be given a shout out on the podcast. Special thanks to audionautics.com for the theme music. And remember, question everything.